For my part, I will be doing SDG number 1, no poverty. My first scatter plot, I use the indicator extreme poverty, people below $3.10 a day. Here on the vertical axis, I have extreme poverty, and on the horizontal, I have the income. I have 5 countries here. I would like to compare these 2 countries. If you look at Vietnam, for instance, 1992, they had 77% of the population that lived below $3.10 a day with an income of $1,670. Through the years, it decreased, and in the year 2014, that is here, there's only 12% of the population that lived below the poverty line with an income of $5,370. So the difference between 1992 and 2014, they have a $3,700 difference in income. If you look at Cameroon, 1996, they have 72% of the population with an income of $2,230. It decreased through the years for the up to the year 2014, but they still have about 43% of the population that live below the poverty line. But the income for this year is $2,830. So for 1999 to 2014, there is only the difference of there's only an increase of the income with $600. So I would say that the larger the income, the lower the percentage of the population that live below the poverty line. You can see that also here in Poland. At a certain time, Poland did decrease their population below the poverty line, but it's now more stable. It's less than 1%. So if you look at their income, they have a very high income for last year. So I would say the higher the income, the lower the population. I also made a graph in Excel, and here I chose a few countries, and I chose for extreme poverty, percentage of the population below $1.25. Here I have the income, both variables. I chose the year 1999. You can see that most of the country, less than 20% lives below the poverty line, and they have a bit better income in comparison with these countries here. For instance, this country has a high income, so it has a very low, less than 1% of the population live below the poverty line. Whereas this country here, you can see that about 83% of the population live below the poverty line, and you can see that their income is very low. It's about $1,000 for that year. So I would say maybe the better the income, the lower the poverty level is. My next scatter plot, I choose rural poverty as a percentage of rural people below the national rural poverty line. And the national poverty line is a population weighted subgroups estimates from household surveys, and the national poverty line can differ in each country because each country has their own standards of how they decide what the poverty line is. And also depends on the economy of that country and the deflation of the currency. So it differs in every country. We have here Mozambique. They have a higher level of the rural population that live below the national poverty line. Each country has their own national poverty line, which they measure their poverty of the country. And for richer countries, for instance, rich countries generally employ more generous standards than poorer countries. And it all depends on the currency that they use, if it's deflated or not. I made a graph in Excel, so I choose the poverty headcount, rural poverty lines, the percentage of rural population. I choose the year 1999, and I also use the income. So I use these countries and the income of these countries for the year 1999, and I made this graph in Excel. So here I have the percentage of the rural population and the income for the year 1999. And you can see here, for instance, that this country, they have an income of $1,500, yet only 33% live below the rural, the national poverty line. And this country here, they have an income of $8,194, yet about 79% of the population live below the national poverty line. So I would say that this country depends on the economy of this country. Maybe it has maybe their currency is probably deflated a lot in comparison with the US dollar. So that's why they have their income has to be higher than the richer countries, or the countries that have a better economy. So that was my part, and I would like to give over now to Hedda.